my wife and I very sadly lost our son Eli back in 2016. He was only a few days old. He was born very, very early, and I think, you know, in terms of having a moment in your life where you decide, right, I'm going to do something very, very different with it, you know, with a focus on the positive, trying to channel something negative into something really positive.
Yeah.
That 100%, that was the thing.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, I never would have incorporated the company if it wasn't for that.
Hi everybody, and welcome to FEBE Founder Stories. Awesome to have Jules Barrett in the house. Hi Julia, how are you?
John, good, thank you.
And we're joined today by Luke Heron. How are you doing, Luke?
I'm very well. Nice to see you both.
Lovely to see you too.
Thank you for having me.
Love to see you. Have you been bowling this morning?
You promised you weren't going to mention that. Thank you.
To get the camera.
And can I thank you for employing CGI to make me look fatter? Have you noticed it's? I mean, by the way, anyone that has met me knows what you're seeing now is way more than £10. It is.
You look beautiful, Luke. Listen,
thank you, darling.
We better get to the seriousness of the subject, which is all the amazing things that you've been doing with your businesses.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Test Card in a moment. We're going to talk about your new venture, FEBE.
Let's do it.
But I just want to go back to the beginning.
Okay.
Okay, and the very, very beginning at school, whereby you were in a bit of let's say, a darker industry.
Yeah, well, I think I know what you're referring to.
There's more than one.
It has me in hysterics. When
when I was 14 years old,
please indulge us on the story.
When I was 14 years old, I along with two colleagues at school, procured some magazines containing some spicy content. The sort of magazines that one might find on the top shelf of a newsagent, you know? Do you know where I'm going with this?
Yes, we know exactly.
Yeah, and you learn a lot by businesses not succeeding, and this one was not a success. I mean, we made a few mistakes. Having the magazines delivered to the school was probably the main one. They were intercepted. I'm not sure if Mr. Bass is still around, but shout out. Thank you, Mr. Bass. Thank you, Mr. Bass. And the other mistake was having Jamie Livingston's mother write the check.
So it was out the blocks. It was a nice little income, but it came to a bit of an abrupt end, didn't it?
Yeah, mate, there was no income. We never got to sell any of it.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, so
Did you have lots of friends?
I had. I'm sure.
You were popular.
Yeah, I think we were popular. But when I say that the magazines were intercepted, this venture met a very, very abrupt and speedy end. Should we move on to more wholesome companies?
I'm sorry, Luke. It was just when you told me about it, I was just in hysterics.
Yeah, it is.
It all starts somewhere.
Not my finest moment. Really.
Let's move on.
Please,
So,
if you would.
before we get to the successes of Test Card and FEBE,
Yeah.
you had a lot of experiences after. So you trained as a stockbroker. You had your fun in the world of in the corporate 10,000 hours, I think they call it.
Right.
And then when is it that you caught the bug and you decided that you're gonna start to try it and do your own stuff?
Well, I mean, I got fired from the investment banking I was working for, which made me very quickly unemployable. I was fired for gross misconduct,
Really?
but not even for anything cool. I mean, it wasn't. I was not insider trading or anything like that.
Was it the magazine deliveries again?
It was the magazine deliveries. No. I'd confronted the boss that I had at the time for their behaviour in the office. I mean, I was a 22-year-old whippersnapper. I didn't realise you weren't supposed to do that. No one told me. I had delusions of grandeur. Actually, I still do. But at the time, I didn't. It was a great thing. I joined when I was very young. I was 16 years old as a guy stuffing envelopes.
Right.
I dropped out of school shortly after the incident. I dropped out just for the avoidance of doubt. I wasn't expelled. So my first job was putting the signatures on the letters that were being sent out from the investment, and I took such great pride in making each of them look absolutely flawless. I used to sometimes smudge the tail of the signature to give it that real level of, penship, authenticity. And that was great. So I did that for 18 months, 24 months. Then I worked in the checking department, which is exactly what it sounds like. You're checking the trades from the previous day. And I sort of traded my way up in jobs and ended up on the private client desk. And that is where I met my untimely, abrupt end from the city.
So look, you didn't bother going to university. You went straight into the world.
No, that is true. I mean, but after after I left banking, I did go to. So I joined a startup. That was the first. Sorry to my very long-winded response to your question. I joined a startup, a fintech startup in Glasgow, and that was really the first time I'd left home because I grew up in Muswell Hill, moved to Glasgow, brand new city, hadn't been there before, and did the startup. I sold out my small shareholding in that business. Definitely at the right time. The company went bust about 18 months after I sold out. And I did actually go to university. I did a sort of a 1-year access course because I felt like I missed out on the whole university thing. And at Glasgow Uni, and I got a place at St Andrews to do international relations and economics. But I spent all the time when I was there on the phone to my stockbroker. So it was just there was just no point in being at university. So during the same period of time, I actually set up. Basically replicated the business that the startup I had worked for and had sold out of. I've just rebuilt what they had done from scratch, and then I sold that as well. So not for a fortune. It was thousands rather than hundreds of thousands or millions. But it was I think that was the sort of the moment where I thought, there's just no point. Getting a job, I'll invent one.
So how old were you when you decided that was the time?
Oh, well, when I totally realised I was never going to work for anyone again. Oh, yeah. 20,
well, it feels to me that you realised you were probably unemployable, Luke.
Oh, totally. I was, yeah. I was 23 when
right?
23 when I realised that I was never going to work a day for anyone else ever again. I mean, 100%, yeah.
If we may, can we go to Test Card?
Oh, I'd love to talk about Test Card.
Because
yeah, sure, let's do that.
That has been a huge success. So it's a business it's a medtech business that can diagnose urinary tract infections.
Yeah.
2019, we have to mention it. You won, which at the time was a massive thing, which was Pitch at the Palace. 80,000 people apply? Is that right?
So I think 80,000 companies have applied to Pitch the Palace over the course of its lifetime. Yeah, I mean, it was largely considered to be the largest pitch competition in the world in terms of the numbers of applications it got. I think the future looks very good, and it's got a product that is genuinely adding value. And I think in terms of all the business I've ever been involved with, we started that. So Dr. Andrew Botham and I started that business with absolutely the right intentions, the right mindset. We were solely focused on creating a product that destroyed the main issue that we saw in healthcare, which was the accessibility of it. Healthcare is so inaccessible.
What was the inspiration? What was the motivation? What was the main focal point that led you to actually starting Test Card then?
So Andrew Botham and I were the co-founders of Test Card, and our families had spent a lot of time hanging out together. So we were always chatting through various ideas. And Andrew's background has largely been as a scientist working in the NHS, running large laboratories. Mine has been mostly in consumer mobile. So I mean, the sort of the genesis of it was talking about how do we make healthcare accessible, and we were talking about the tests that you could do at the time and how we could make those easier, and we sort of envisioned a future whereby a flat pack test kit could arrive through the mail as a letter almost. That's why we came up with this whole postcard concept. That's the story that we've always told. I mean, the truth is I incorporated the company. So we had my wife and I very sadly lost our son Eli back in 2016. He was a few days old. He was born very, very early. And I think, in terms of having a moment in your life where you decide, right, I'm going to do something very, very different with a focus and a positive, trying to channel something negative into something really positive. Yeah. That 100%, that was the thing.
Really?
I mean, without a shadow of doubt, I never would have incorporated the company if it wasn't for that. I mean, I was looking for purpose after that. I mean, after that, I'd exited Bipost, not in a great way, because, effectively the low note holders had basically taken control, as they had absolutely right to do so, of the assets of Bipost. I was sort of jobless, didn't really have a direction, just encountered what I felt was sort of immeasurable grief. And I was just trying to figure out a way and a direction to do something. So remembering back to the conversations Andrew and I had over the year and 2 years before then, that was really the thing that drove me to incorporating it. I wanted to create a test ultimately that would stop what happened to us happening again. In terms of sort of the founding things that we talked about right at the beginning, it does feel like it sort of found its time, found its moment. But the pandemic was really the thing that changed everything for TestCard, by the way. Just jumping ahead, it's the pandemic made testing at home relevant. I'm not just talking about COVID testing, I'm talking about testing for everything.
Yeah.
Because there was a time, you couldn't really go and visit your GP very easily during that whole pandemic. And even now, the legacy of the pandemic has left an NHS which is incredibly well worn. There's huge lengths of the waiting list now is longer than it's ever been for routine operations and procedures. So I think TestCard has really found its place, and I think over the next 18 to 24 months it's going to see some spectacular growth and success, both in the UK, but most importantly it's going to do what we set out to do, which was to improve healthcare. So yeah.
Brilliant.
Luke, can I ask you what your definition of success is? Because I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, success is, well, for a lot of people, I think success is having money. When you talk about TestCard, you talk about the reason why you started it, and it's successful because it's achieved something phenomenal as opposed to the financial. So how do you define success?
Success is happiness. That's the only thing it is, and it's like for me, success is doing something that has achieved what you set out to do. It's been proved that you were right. I think that the money side of things is nice because it makes things easier, doesn't it? But I haven't made a lot of money, so I've had a couple of very small exits, modest ones. So, but I think it's happiness. That's the only measure of success, isn't it? Really, I know that sounds cliche, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it's just I think the most successful businesses are the ones that don't set out to make money; they set out to change.
Yeah.
But it's just, and people always say, "Oh, you're so successful." You think, "Well, what is success?" So it's just interesting to see everyone's definition of it.
Yeah.
Do you not think that's a tiny bit puristic in the sense that there is a big element of it, an element is to make it there and create the financial security, independence. Do you what I'm trying to say is, do you think it's a bit too puristic going, it's not about the money, it's about, the change you're making?
I mean, I can only speak, but genuinely it isn't about the money.
Really?
Yeah, you never think about that when you're setting up your products and, you're working all those hours. It's about achieving what you're capable of doing. And
you agree?
Well, I totally agree with that.
Totally agree. Yeah.
But I mean, it's been different with every venture I've been involved in. I mean, for a lot of time I was chasing money.
Really?
Oh, totally, yeah. I was fickle and shallow as it is, it's the truth.
So, Luke, you were saying that you've not exited, but you've moved on from TestCard. But you're still involved with TestCard, right?
No, not at all. Okay. I've totally stepped back from TestCard. I mean, I've been trying. I mean, I make no secret of the fact I love startups and the startup phase. I love the bit where you're taking an idea, proving that you can get other people to believe in it, and that's getting the money, and creating the products, getting the product onto the market, getting validation for that product from real customers. But there comes a point where you've got sort of maturity in the business. It's no longer a startup, and it becomes a scale-up business, and it just doesn't interest me anymore.
Really?
Yeah, it really doesn't.
So you still have equity in that business?
Yeah. I'm still the largest shareholder, 20%.
And for you growing that and obviously having that emotional connection to it, how easy is it to sort of step away from the day-to-day and just keep the equity?
So easy.
Okay.
I hated being CEO.
Okay.
Yeah. Really?
Hated it. Yeah. And moving from, I mean, not because it becomes something very, very different. I mean, it's, it had 40-something staff, people think, if you're the CEO, everyone's accountable to you. No, I was accountable to them. I was accountable to shareholders. It's accountability and me are not great companions. We don't make friends. I loathe accountability, but I also recognise that I need it. So the accountability that I like and I enjoy is the investor, having investors on board that I get on with, and it's showing them that you're making them a return. It's meeting these sort of milestone points, but then getting out at the right time. And getting out for me is finding someone, the right person to run the business.
Yeah.
That's the critical thing, and handing it over to them. I don't have a problem letting go in that respect.
How did you find this step from sort of rookie founder to all of a sudden you've got this great big...
It sounds a really weird thing to say, but I think the business does actually outgrow the founders.
Really?
I think it becomes so big, and actually as a founder, you're all about like packing the boxes, emptying the bins, getting the brand right, and then suddenly you bring on all these fantastic people, which is what you're meant to do, that are actually better than you. And like that's probably the time to sort of step away. And I think, when I stepped away from Grenade, I loved the business when we started it.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily love it where we didn't have certain products in certain stores because it affected the margins.
Yeah.
And it becomes more about the numbers and less about the brand, and I'm a brand person, so yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, sounds like the evolution from founder to CEO or to a running a grown-up business is tough.
No, but I think you're totally right, by the way. And there are very few people, in history, that have actually ended up being the right person, growing a company from idea to being a multi-billion-dollar. Zuckerberg is the obvious example. Bill
Musk.
Gates, Elon Musk.
Jobs.
I know, but this is the point that I'm making, is that they are the exceptions.
Yeah.
That's why we've all heard of them.
That's why straight away they're the names that you come up with.
Yeah,
because there's not many of them.
No, there aren't. Yeah.
So, take us to FEBE then.
Yeah.
So this is your...
Passion project.
This is a passion project.
Oh, totally.
But already, it's now, I think you've created the largest image bank of whiskies in the world, is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. So but it's not really the image bank, we've created the largest database. Just to explain what FEBE is.
Yeah, tell us, please.
So FEBE is, I've been a whiskey collector for 15, 16 years or so, and the whiskey market is just hideously fragmented. You've got consumers on the one side that enjoy drinking whiskey, and then on the other side you've got the investor and collector market, which is growing at a pace which I really don't think anyone fully really understands or appreciates right now. But they will soon, because I think it's starting to become clearer. So it's very fragmented. There's thousands of counterparties which you can deal with depending on whether you're a consumer or investor. Some people are both, by the way. So Vivino started off with that you scan a bottle, find out about it, it's price indications and things like that. And we've started much the same way. But so yeah, you're right. At the back end of this, we've built the world's largest database of whiskey. But on top of that, we have built what is the most smart and intelligent tech that allows a camera to read on a phone the label of a bottle of whiskey, and 98% of the time it will
wow.
know
So I pick up the bottle of whiskey, I take my phone out.
Yeah, you scan it.
I scan it, and all of a sudden I'll be told.
Every bottle of whiskey has its own page within our thing. So there's 200,000 odd bottles unique bottles that we've created.
Individually scanned in? 200,000?
Well, it's approaching 200,000, 190-something thousand. It never stops. By the way, there's probably 10, 15 bottles of scotch released every single day. People don't appreciate that, by the way, and that's just whiskey from Scotland. So you have this ever-growing beast of a database, and we're basically building an ecosystem where we expect to be catering for both the investors and for the consumers. So the consumers will ultimately be able to buy whiskey by the bottle and by the dram through our retail platform. And later this year, there will be some offerings for people that want to invest or own fractional ownership of pricier, more expensive bottles. But
how much can they go to, these bottles?
Silly numbers. I've got bottles in my collection that sort of low six figures. My wife would never let me spend that these days.
Six figures?
Yeah, they've gone out. And by the way, I don't own the ones that are in the seven figures, but there's a couple. They're up there. 1926 Macallan.
So you can buy whiskies that are in the millions?
Low millions, John. Low millions. Yeah. So one in our...
Did you know that?
So
No.
A bottle of 1926 Macallan, which has got 3 different label iterations. There's a fine and rare, there's a Peter Blake, and then there's an Adami bottling. And they're all over $1 million now. Most recently, I think it was 1.5 million was the most recently recorded price. But yeah.
Wow, so what you're saying is then you called it fractional ownership, is it? So you could basically you take ownership in one of these very mega expensive bottles of whiskey.
Yeah,
brilliant.
I think that's the direction that the market will go in. I think whiskey has proven itself as a sound, solid asset class. We're headed into a period of mega inflation. I think there are very few assets to park cash safely, and I think at the high end of the whiskey market, I think it's relatively... As in terms of alternative assets go, I think it's one of the safer ones. Yeah.
So you're turning the tap on with the revenue later this year. Is that right?
Yeah, so the revenue from the consumer, from the retail side of things, will start at the end on a soft launch basis, the end of next month. So yeah, you'll be able to buy up to 500 different bottles by the bottle and by the dram. So you'll be able to buy a pouch of whiskey with a dram of whiskey in it, and that will grow over time. Yeah, at the end of this year, the first of the sort of the investment linked propositions will go live within the Bevy. But you know, every founder needs a delusional ambition, right?
What's yours?
With Bevy, make no secret, we want to own the digitalisation of whiskey. I mean, we think that the space is going online, app-based, and we want to own the entire space because we think we can make it better for everyone.
I've got a very, very small investment in a sort of online marketplace, and you know, the one thing that I know, it must be really stressful constantly raising.
Yeah.
So you're trying to balance growing the brand and you'll know your passion for whiskey with constantly raising. Do you enjoy that side of it, obviously with your investment banking background? Or raising
money? No, I don't think anyone really. The one plus raising money is you get you by the process of doing it, you get to meet loads of people, some of which you keep in touch with. So yeah, I mean, from that side of it, it's great.
So you enjoy the connections that it
No,
creates?
I totally enjoy the connections that raising money brings, but very little else. You know, it's a necessary evil, isn't it? But as I say, the only accountability I enjoy is the investor accountability. Because once you've got their money, it's your job to make them a return. Yeah. If it was just me I was making money for, I don't think I'd get out of bed. You know, you need that. Sometimes when things aren't, you know, you're not in that optimal frame of mind, it's actually the kick up the backside you need sometimes to have other shareholders on board. But now, by the way, in terms of raising capital, now I think it's got to a point now where the network that has been developed over a period of years is good enough that, I mean, doing the SEIS round for any company now is an afternoon for me, I think. And I think that's true for anyone that's done more than a couple of startups. You just ring the same old people and they put in 10, 20 grand and stuff. It's Luke again. You know,
but your relationship with them is obviously so important, and you know, they trust you and you've got the skills to do it. It's funny talking to some of the investors that were very early on in the test card journey now. I mean, it's funny how they, when I tell them now, if someone had told me at the start of test card it would take 4 years to get regulatory approval of the first product, never would have incorporated it. And
really?
Yeah, I said this to one of the shareholders like a couple of weeks ago, and he said I didn't believe you when you told me it'd be 18 months anyway. But he said that he totally believed that I would figure out how to get there, was the point, and that was the main thing. And he actually invested into Bevy as well, and he said, and he flies a lot, so he does scanning when he goes through the duty free whiskey bottles, and he was telling me how crap it was, you know, for the last sort of 3 or 4 months, because he had sort of the early version, you know, the pre-launch version, and he said, it's still not very good, Luke, still not very good. It's only getting about 60% of them right. And then suddenly he messages, this is when he got in touch 2 weeks ago, and he said, oh no, you've got 100% of them right.
Really?
Yeah. He scanned like 80. He spent an hour scanning like 80 bottles, 90 bottles. Yeah. So yeah, and but he said. He repeated the whole thing, and he said, I never believed that you'd be able to get the tech right within what I told him, because I originally said I thought we'd get it all sorted within like 3 months.
Does that motivate you when someone says to you, I don't believe you, but don't think you can do it? Does that say, right, I'm going to prove you wrong?
No, it doesn't. No, it really doesn't. He didn't let me know. He was retrospectively telling me that he never believed my optimism.
Yeah. Okay.
But he was happy to back it anyway. I mean, it's yeah.
What we really want to be able to give to people watching, you know, these videos, these films, is just some beautiful nuggets. So on the raising money, what are your kind of major tips for how you nail that pitch? You know, how do you get people to buy into you, your vision, and therefore part with their cash? What is there must be a little ingredient here, Luke, that everybody needs to know.
Well, you just have to be real and genuine. I think investors want to see to meet a real person. I don't think they want to feel sold to.
Yeah.
I do a little bit of investing on a very small scale myself, and I can't stand being cold sold something. You know,
So you're saying be real?
Yeah, just
totally upfront.
Yes, I think that nothing beats vulnerability. Nothing beats talking about why an idea might take longer or might not work. I think just being brutally honest it's the most attractive quality, I think, to investors. I mean, obviously they've got to see something that they like and want to invest in anyway. But assuming you can check that box, which is there's no advice I can give to anyone to check that box, because that is binary. You've either got an idea that's going to appeal to investors or you haven't. But if you have, the next thing is just to be real and honest. That's it. You've just got to connect. There has to be a human connection, otherwise it's just not going to work.
Can you agree with that from your point
yeah,
of view?
definitely. I mean, I think that, if you put a forecast in that's just ridiculous growth and there's no plan about how to get there, that's just going to turn people off straight away. And I always say that, remember that when you have investment, there's going to be a divorce at the end. So you need to make sure you get on well enough with them so that when it comes to those difficult conversations and the end, then you're all sort of on the same page.
Yeah, Bevy's in the right places at the right time. I think we've got an amazing team that we built. It's minute. We've got 3 full-time whiskey experts, got 5 full-time developers, and me. So I think it's in a really good place.
Awesome. And how important is the team to you?
Oh, it's critical.
Yeah.
Because they cover up all of my failings. And
what are your main failings, Luke? What would you say? We all focus on strengths and what have you, and clearly very talented, being able to think of a vision, come up with a vision, create a vision, then actually put the steps into making that vision become a reality. But what are your weaknesses then?
I think my weakness is my strength, actually, because I know what they are and I get other people to fill them in. And they are everything. I think, like a lot of people, I have imposter syndrome. If you get a company to a certain stage, I mean, I felt like that with Test Card. I was hideously unqualified. Someone without a degree running a medical diagnostic business, I mean, what's the world coming to? It's ridiculous.
You've obviously done quite a few of these interviews with John or whatever else. What one question do you always get asked you think, I wish people would stop asking me that?
Oh, great question.
Yeah, what the weaknesses, yeah. But I don't have a problem admitting my weaknesses. I wouldn't know where to start. Really? I think once I started, it wouldn't finish either. I mean, there's just.
That's a really good point, though. Yeah, it is a good point. It's we all know weakness, and running a business really highlights your weaknesses, because all of a sudden everything's on you, and the spotlight's on you, and everything you're doing badly is very, very evident and clear. So I think you're right. It really does.
Yeah, delegate.
I can see what you're talking about.
Yeah, this is the thing is, once you've figured out delegation and you found the best people around you to fill in all the gaps, you've suddenly, it sort of glosses over all of fills in all the gaps. It's like polyfiller. But I think someone once told me, I was going for an interview. This was back in the days when I was at some investment bank job before I got fired, and it was sort of an internal promotion I was going for, and they said that, you're going to get asked what your weaknesses are, and you've got to turn it into a positive. So they said, just say you spend too much. If your weaknesses, you pay too much attention to detail sometimes. Yeah. And it's just like, it was so cliche. But do you know what I mean? It's impossible to comment on, isn't it?
Luke, loved hearing your story.
Did you?
Yeah.
Should we do it again?
I'm really excited about what Bevy's going to be doing. I mean, Test Card sounds absolutely just out there in terms of what it's doing.
Yeah, Bevy's going to be bigger and better.
Bevy's going to be big, is it? Okay, that's going to be...
Bevy is going to be a biggie. Well, we're going to take on Vivino. If they don't know it yet, they will soon. So,
are they allowed to know that today?
Yeah, I know.
And Luke, is there another one post-Bevy?
I keep promising myself it will never happen again. But I think it's a disease, entrepreneurship, isn't it?
Definitely.
You have an idea. I mean, there isn't a cure, is there, really?
But would you want a cure?
No. I don't know what I'd do. Yeah. I'd be depressed, I think.
Really?
Yes.
So you need the thrill. You need the entrepreneurial kind of
and
adventure.
Purpose as well, I think.
It's purpose. Why would I get up in the morning? What would you do? And also it is. Yeah. I mean, it's purpose. It's filling your days with something that's productive and fun. And it is fun. We wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun. I mean, it's
scary at the same time, though, right?
Sorry?
Scary at the same time.
Not at all.
No?
No, I don't think so.
She said scary?
I think because you've got that belief that what you're doing is the right thing to do.
Right.
You never, even though things might not always go your way, you always know that it's the right thing to do. So I think, I think it's good to be scared. Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah.
Right. I'll work on that.